Good morning, YouTube. No, I wasn't thrown under the bus. I climbed under here willingly. Some of you who've watched my videos may recognize this driveway as belonging to my son. I come out here to visit him once a year, and because of his experience with big rigs and mechanics, we do a little bit of upgrades and fixes on the bus. So the next couple videos are going to be a few of those things, but today is going to be an upgrade. I am going to add, because I have an air brake system, I'm going to add an air line to the system, and which will allow me to run air tools, fill up air tires, basically use the bus compressor to do other things. I'm going to do mine a little different, but I'm going to walk you through the steps of what I do and how I do it, and we'll go from there. Well, the first thing to do is look at the air tanks, and with mine I've got a 1/4 inch hole here. I've got a spot here for a drain. There is the drain that's already here. Should drain your air tanks to get any moisture buildup and so on regularly, but because with this type I have to crawl underneath and actually turn the valve and drain the air out, then I'm going to install this, which has a cable on it, and I can pull it from the side of the bus and be able to drain the air without actually having to crawl under the bus in the mud and the dirt. Make it a little bit easier on me, and by making it easier, be more frequent. So first I got to take that one out because I want to go into the passenger side. I think I'm going to mount it on this side instead of that. So I'm going to take and remove these two plugs, or that valve, this plug, and swap them. Well, this is what I've got so far. Is I tapped in here. I used pipe dope on the fittings to seal it where the Teflon tape was not doing a good job. So I did that. Teflon tape worked on these new fittings just fine. All right, so I got it hard out here to this electrical valve, just like the one on my propane. That will allow it to, I can turn a key that I'm installing to energize this. It uses the bus vehicle electric system. So the only time I can turn this on is if the bus is running. Bus is running, compressor's working, charging up the tank with air. So this way a valve can't accidentally be open and drain all my air out of my brake system. This is that valve with the cable on it that I can just pull from the outside and be able to drain out any oil or water that has got into the system. Hopefully it's just water. So that's it. That's what we got down here underneath. I got the hose hooked up and running around, and we will go hook up on the other side. We've got everything hooked up underneath, and I'm gonna run the air hose over here to this storage compartment. This is where I've got my my water hoses, extension cords, jumper cables. Up in here's all miscellaneous water and electrical hookup things. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drill a hole in the back that I can put this grommet in. This grommet's made to keep things from rubbing against the metal. and I've got 2 electrical wires and an air hose coming through. So now I need to drill this hole in the back, which ought to be interesting because it's sort of an awkward angle for me. Okay, so I ran the hose up and over the axle up. I actually tied it to the drain pipe for my sink, and I dumped the frame here to go through where the grommet is up here. I was going to cut the hose, and then I decided that the factory end is probably better than anything I could do, so I just coiled it up here. It's out of the way. I don't see a lot of mud getting caked up in here, so I don't think this is going to be a problem. If it is, I'll deal with it then. So well, let's go inside the box and show you what that end's going to be. Well, at the business end of things, I'm going to have the air line goes in here. This is a way to adjust the pressure. The bus is running around 140 pounds. I don't always need that, but so I can adjust it. It also has a built-in water and dust or grit filter, so if anything gets through, or oil, it'll take that out. So I'm going to mount that right in here, and then I've got this keyed switch here that I'm debating where to mount that, but that's going to be mounted in here somewhere, so that will activate that valve on, off, and it'll be said I'll be able to activate the valve and have it off when I'm driving or when I don't need it. So I gotta hook up this line and get this attached and figure out where this is gonna go. I'm using some of this pipe sealant. I ran into a little bit of a problem with some minor air leaks with that Teflon, and this stuff's messier, but I think it does a better job. Sort of going medieval on it. Go with the old time stuff. Well, I decided to put the switch here, and this is I will take and attach the wires to the top here in a little bit, but there we go. There's this end. I've got to hook up the other wire. I need to make it to the front, and I'm going to hook it into the keyed side of the ignition. That way this can't be on unless the bus is running. So unless if the bus is running, the system's aired up, then I could turn this on. If I turn the bus off, this will automatically shut down, so I won't be running air tools or have an air leak or whatever and run the air on the bus down. So now let me crawl back under the bus and wire that end, and then we'll test it out. Alright, so I've run the wires underneath the bus, brought it up here. This is the hot line going back to that switch. I want to hook it up to the side that's keyed. I mean, all this in here is where all my electrical comes to. The fuse box is somewhere else. But this little thing is a circuit tester, a little light. It's got a light bulb in it. I've hooked it up to the ground. You see on this, there's no power to here, no power to here, but this one up here, light lights up, and this is powered. So this one is unkeyed. These two are hooked in when the key's turned on, the ignition is on, then these are energized. So things like my horns and CB, that kind of stuff is all hooked up through here. So I'm going to hook this up and get cleaned up. This, by the way, is a few bucks at Harbor Freight. It's well worth it. It comes in handy if you're tracking down whether or not a line's got power. You know, if a light's not working and you put a new bulb in, it's still not working, you can go along and figure out where the break in the circuit is. Anyway, I'm gonna get this hooked up. I'm gonna get some of the underbus cleaned off of me, and tomorrow we'll fire this thing up and make sure nothing leaks and make sure I've got air to the new system. Okay, so we're at the end of this this little project here, and as you can see, I've got the valve here and all that hooked up. Run the lines down. See, there's no pressure right now in the system, but if I turn the switch, that opens that valve down by the air tank and pressurizes this system, and I can tie into this and inflate tires or run air tools. The adjustment knob up here on the top, I can turn the pressure up or lower it. I can set it wherever I want. So that's nice, because like spray guns and stuff, you'd run it down 40 pounds or so, and inflating tires, you're up around 100. So now if I turn the key off, take the key out, that shut that valve off, and if you remember, you can hear the engine running. That's because the only way this can be energized is if the engine is running, so the compressor is running, and I have power back here. Now if I was to, now it's off, put some sort of strain on it, you see the pressure will go down to 0, and that's the way it'll stay until I put the key in and turn it again. So I did put in the wire valves underneath, so I don't have to crawl underneath when it's, I can do that every day in my walk around. I'll just give them a yank and blow out any water that gets into the system. And so that's it for this. There's more things coming here at my son's place. We're going to get this, get some brakes on here in next video or so, and go from there. See you later, YouTube.